Dialectical Journal Unit 7 by Taylor Madison. In this video, I will be covering 6 poems, including Musée des Beaux-Arts by W.H. Auden, Landscape with the Fall of Icarus by William Carlos Williams, Hunters in the Snow Bruegel by Joseph Langland, The Prodigal by Elizabeth Bishop, The Sick Rose by William Blake, and Girl Powdering Her Neck by Kathy Song. Musée des Beaux-Arts, quote of interest. About suffering they were never wrong, the old masters, how well they understood its human position, how well it takes place while someone else is eating or opening a window or just walking dully along. Page 774. This quote reminded me of the current situation in the world. There are countries in Africa where people are suffering and living in dangerous conditions, while people in the U.S. are so rich that they can afford their own private jets. This discrepancy between the lifestyle of the rich and the poor seems way out of proportion. Those that have more than what they need should contribute to those who are less fortunate. Quote of interest. The plowman may have heard the splash, the forsaken cry, but for him it was an unimportant failure. Page 774. I was reminded of the current issue in Africa after reading this quote as well, because there are a group of people that choose to ignore the suffering of others simply because it does not immediately affect their life. This mindset is not a progressive step towards world peace. The ability to look beyond one's own circumstances is a skill that should be greatly valued. Landscape with the Fall of Icarus, quote of interest. The edge of the sea, concerned with itself, sweating in the sun that melted the wing's wax. Page 775. This quote follows the trend that has been established so far in this unit's reading because the sea is completely enveloped in its own needs. I think the sea was a symbol for humanity in this poem, despite the fact that it was written long before the issues of today were present. Quote of interest. Unsignificantly off the coast there was a splash, quite unnoticed, that was Icarus drowning. Page 775. I found it ironic that death was an insignificant event in this poem because it is quite the opposite. Everyone knows that it is inevitable, but that does not make it any less of an event. I felt sorry for Icarus because no one was going to remember him or notice that he was gone. Hunters in the Snow, quote of interest. Near it, anonymous parents and peasant girl, living like proverbs carved in the alehouse walls, gather the country evening into their arms and lean on the glowing flames. Page 776. The people described in this poem seem to be statues rather than living humans. They symbolized a lesson that people should remember, but the lesson is not revealed in the poem. The imagery described in each line formed a unique picture by the end of this quote. Quote of interest. Darkness stalks the hunters, slowly sliding down, falling in beating rings and soft diagonals. Lodged in the vague, vast valley, the village sleeps. Page 777. I liked the reversal of roles in this section because usually when one thinks of hunters, they assume that the men are stalking their prey. However, in this poem, the men themselves are the prey of the darkness. This adjustment prescribed a vulnerability to them that was uncharacteristic of their personalities. The Prodigal, quote of interest. The floor was rotten, the sty was plastered halfway up with glass-smooth dung. Light-lashed, self-righteous, above moving snouts, the pig's eyes followed him, a cheerful stare, even to the sow that always ate her young. Page 778. I had to read this poem several times aloud to comprehend its meaning and to realize that what I had read was correct. The last line about the sow that always eats her young was disturbing. I generally do not think of pigs in this light, but after hearing this piece, I definitely did not want to visit that barn. Quote of interest. The lantern-like sun, going away, laid on the mud a pacing oriole. Carrying a bucket along a slimy board, he felt the bat's uncertain, staggering flight, his shuddering insides, beyond his control, touching him. but it took him a long time finally to make up his mind to go home. Page 778. The author used the bats as a way to put the reader in a specific frame of mind. Bats are associated with Halloween, which is a holiday that includes haunting ghosts and scary houses. But by using bats instead of another animal, the barn took on the qualities of a haunted house.